buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Good morning, my friends. It's Friday. Stand by for news. If you're old enough to remember that, then you and I can be friends. If you're old enough to remember that, then you and I can be friends, and we can hang out together. That's what... Remember that? You just remember that? That always used to bring a smile to my face. If you know, you know. That's all I'm saying. Welcome to it. It is Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on issues of a Second Amendment nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show. Every Friday, we dedicate a goodly portion of the show to the Second Amendment, to gun rights, to discussions on gun laws, and everything else. It's what I like to call my weekly therapy session, where I get a chance to espouse and expound on some things that I care about, and something that I think is uniquely American and uniquely important to the fabric of the country. I know that's a pretty tall statement, but I think it's true. Personally, I think it's true. So since it's my show, we're going to continue to operate on that premise. So today on the program, we've got Dr. John Lott from the Crime Prevention Research Center and authors of many books, including The War on Guns, More Guns, Less Crime, The Myth About Gun Control. He's a statistician, and he is the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. He's going to be coming on board today to talk with us about a couple of his latest articles. One that he did that was in America's First Freedom, talking about the numbers from the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, and why the numbers that keep coming out of the FBI, that there's some reason to distrust some of the numbers, and we'll talk about that. And that's important because the UCR is used all the time in trying to justify certain things, to enact policy, and to do a lot of different things. So that's one of the stories. We're also going to talk about his piece that he wrote over at the Crime Prevention Research Center back at the end of last month, where he was talking about the overall drop in the number of concealed carry licenses, and that there's a good reason for it. So don't be alarmed if you see that there's a continual drop in the number of concealed carry license. There is some reasoning behind that, and we'll talk about that as well with Dr. Lott. So this should be a fun show. Normally on the second Friday of the month, we also have Chris Chang, Top Shot champion. But Chris reached out to me last night, and he is under the weather. He is ill, not feeling well, and asked to beg off. So we wish him and his family a very Merry Christmas, and we will talk to him again in January. So no Chris Chang today, but we will finish up the show with Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Hello, Willie. He's going to be coming on board and talking with us about the latest in the entertainment industry and the streaming movies services. We're going to get some reviews and do some stuff like that. So that's what we got for all of today. So appreciate you coming out and joining us today. Also, some housekeeping, just again, so in case folks are not aware, and it is Firearms Friday, so I'm happy to announce I actually took a look at a couple of the things that I had laying around, and I am going to be adding to the holiday recipe contest. Now, if you don't know what that is, up on my Facebook page, there's a post that's got a beautiful holiday spread table, with all this Christmas goodie foods on it and stuff. That's the holiday recipe contest where you share your favorite holiday recipe. You just post it in the comments, and then you share that with all your friends and say, go vote for me. And they come out and they vote for you a thumbs up, and they give you the likes and the loves and everything. And whoever walks away with the most number of interactions, likes and loves, is going to be the winner. Now, there's a benefit to this. One is that you get to share your favorite recipe with everybody else. And two, we all get to benefit from it, because we can go out there, and there's a bunch of recipes that I've already copied off the page, because some of these look really good. And so we're going to try them out around my household here this year. But that was the whole benefit of just because, Christmas is all about the food and the fun and the family and everything else. But sharing that food is always a great thing. And I have now added, there's actually going to be more than one winner. There's going to be two winners. So the top two now, whoever gets the most is going to get their choice of prizes. So we've got on prize package number one is a bag of beard curler coffee and a 6 o'clock club coffee mug. That's you get it. Your choice of that. And then the second prize package is a pair of certificates to point blank firearms and self-defense in Wasilla. And that is for a basic pistol course. Those are valued at about $250 for the pair of them. So you get, you can choose either one. So if you live outside of the Wasilla, or, reasonable driving distance from Wasilla, and you don't want the certificates, then you can get the coffee, which has a much lesser value, I know, but it's from my heart. So maybe it has more value. I don't know. But so you can choose. The first winner will choose which prize package they want, and the second winner will get the second prize package. Just another way to entice you to go out there and put your recipe up on the page. If you live anywhere near the South Central area in Wasilla, within 50, 60, 70 miles, probably worth it for the $250 worth of certificates to point blank firearms. So you want to check that out. All right. We're going to, sorry, I've got Dr. Lott. I'm trying to get him squared away this morning on the deal. So we're going to send him the link here for this morning's show, and we're going to do our best here to get everything done. We're going to be covering with him. He's going to be joining us here in about 10 minutes. A little bit of snow outside, little bit of snow. We're seeing, I got about, 3 inches here, 4 inches maybe. But it was supposed to be up to 8 inches down in Anchorage. Yeah, this poor town, those folks down there, they just cannot get away from all the snow. They just cannot get away. And of course, they're still trying to dig themselves out from all that stuff from the previous early November. So it's it's gonna be an interesting one. We'll just say that. We'll make it good. All right. So Dr. Lott is on his way here in a few minutes. What are some of the stories we're going to be covering? Okay, we've got Dr. Lott's stories about the UCR and concealed carry stats. We also got a discussion about Chuck Schumer's gun ban that he was trying to get in, what they call the Go Safe Act, which is the gas operated semi-automatic firearms something. Which if you actually read into this is not about assault weapons. This is about all semi-automatic. It's in the name, Go Safe, gas-operated semi-automatic firearms. It's literally there. This is the new Mark II. It's not just an assault weapons ban. This is a gun ban. And he's trying to signal a new era with the demise of Feinstein. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about range safety and a video apparently that has been going around on Twitter that, well, I can't even, I cringe just to talk about it, but we will be talking about it in hour 2. And also Michelle Lujan Grisham. Yeah, she finally is getting some more pushback on her attempt to regulate firearms in New Mexico. More bad news for her, although not as much of some bad news as we'd like to hear, but there's still some mental gymnastics going on in the judicial community over what she's doing. But she's continuing to lose. Let's just put it that way. She's continuing to lose. Sorry that she can't be the queen for the day and rule from on high via edict and royal decree, but she's going to be facing some of that. So those are just a few of the stories that we're covering today. Coming up on Monday's program, we're going to have Dr. Greg Hammer on how to beat the winter blues in hour 1, and in hour 2, we're going to be talking with Cindy Bertram about cruises, how a cruise is the perfect holiday. And I know some of you are like, yes, and some of you are like, no, I've never been on a cruise. I've always kind of thought about it. And so I thought it would be interesting to bring this lady on and talk to her about all the different aspects of it, what's good and what's bad. And I had a conversation with her yesterday a bit, and it should be a roller coaster. She's a fast talker, and she lays it all out. So it should be fun and exciting. It's all I'm looking for right now. Fun and exciting. Next week, we're going to try and keep it again as low key as possible. And then the following week, this goes back to the recipe contest. The 19th will be the final day. Tuesday, the 19th will be the final day to submit and get all your votes. So it behooves you to get your recipe up there early and then get a lot of time to vote on it. Because on Wednesday morning, the 20th, I'm announcing the winner. And Wednesday, the 20th, by the way, is my final day of broadcast for the year. Mike Shower will be joining us, and I'm working on some other folks for that week. We're just going to do nothing but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week. So what is that? The 18th, 19th, and 20th. It's going to be just all Christmassy stuff, as much as you can stomach. It's going to be amazing, and I can't wait. So we're ready to go. All right, coming up on the break, again, Dr. John Lott's going to be joining us here in just a hot second. Please stick around. Dr. Lott's up next, The Michael Duke Show. It is Firearms Friday. I hope you're feeling it. I hope you're feeling that Christmas spirit. Getting ready to. If not, it might be because of all that commercialism. Just get rid of the commercialism and just enjoy the reason for the season. We're back with more right after this.
Marty was pumped for Christmas.
Woo, I'm pumped for Christmas. Ow!
So Marty just bought himself everything he wanted.
Yeah.
Because Marty has no friends.
That turned dark.
It's the Michael Dukes Show.
Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm singing because I'm singing. Go through the comments here. What's happening, my friends? 4 inches of snow yesterday in down in the Homer Lower Peninsula. 4 inches up here. Good morning. At least it's warmer. I mean, this weather is killing my wife because her migraines, a lot of times she gets migraines and they get triggered by rapid swings in the weather. And it was like on Wednesday, it was like 24 degrees. Yesterday, it was like 3 degrees. And this morning, it's like 21 degrees already. And 4 inches of snow. You know, it's just, she's just like, she's holding her head and groaning like, oh, I feel so bad for her. But should be good. Okay. What a reason to distrust the government is in the sarcasm font. TGIFF to you as well, Jeffrey. Thank you for dialing in. You guys got real quiet all of a sudden. What's happening? What are you doing? She's not alone, said Rick. TGI 15 below, says Chris. TGI, thank goodness it's 15 below, says Chris. That's congratulations, question mark. I guess you're excited that it's 15 below. I can't ever remember a time when I was excited that it was 15 below, even when I was much younger, living in Fairbanks. I mean, I got to tell you, I love the people in Fairbanks. And there are certain aspects of Fairbanks that I love. The one thing that I do not love is the weather. Hate is not too strong a word for that. I mean, I know my folks live there still and my sisters and, you know, my dad and mom just love it there. But I got to tell you, I've just, as I've gotten older, I've learned to just hate that cold weather. I mean, when it gets down near zero here, I start to get a little grumpy. I mean, it could have something to do with a little bit that I have frostbite in my hands and my fingers, even with gloves on and everything else, they start to just hurt. And it could be that I'm just sick and tired of it. Blah. Oh, man. So anyway, but nonetheless, I am full of Christmas cheer and Christmas spirit. I'm ready to just enjoy the holiday, time with family and friends. We were talking yesterday about my wife and I were going through the Christmas lists and the gifts and making sure we got everything we need and getting ready to plan for the holiday meals. And it's an exciting time. It is a super exciting time, and I'm looking forward to it. So it's going to be great. It's horribly cold in Kodiak, says Teresa. 23 degrees in Seldovia. Oof, man. Okay. And Rick says he's got a sweet recipe he's going to try and post. It involves buttermilk. I mean, I would never drink buttermilk straight, but I mean, in recipes, it's delicious. There's some good stuff in there. I see Dr. Lott is in the green room, although I can't see his camera, but I see that he has joined us. Let's go over there real quick here. We got about 40 seconds before the segment's supposed to start. Let's add him up and see if he's with us. Are you with us, Dr. Lott? Apparently not. So we're going to continue. He'll be rejoining in just a moment. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the stuff. Let's get to it. Here we go. I mean, it's here we. I'm ready. All right. Welcome back to the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Dr. John Lott, I just gave him a call on the phone. Are you with us, Dr. Lott?
I am. I'm having a little trouble with my Wi-Fi, and for some reason, the stream link that you sent always seems to work with Wi-Fi. I tried to do it on my phone.
Oh, it's
but
yeah. Well, it usually will. I know it'll work with phones and tablets, but we can just do it this way if you'd like. That's if that's easier for you, so we don't have to futz with it. I'm okay with that. Up to you totally. If you'd like to try it again.
Okay. Well, no, I appreciate your flexibility.
Yeah,
on
no
it,
problem. No problem. I'll in the background here. I'll put together a picture of you and everything and get it going on. I appreciate you coming on. First of all, let me wish you a Merry Christmas. I don't think I responded properly to your text from Thanksgiving. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, well, Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about some stuff. A couple things that I wanted to talk about, John. First and foremost, this whole thing that you in America's First Freedom that you wrote about is this idea that there's a long history, and there's been a reason for quite a while for folks to kind of be distrustful of the FBI. I mean, historically, they've been held up as the preeminent law enforcement, the boys in blue, always faithful, a bunch of Boy Scouts. But more and more over the last 10, 15 years, I mean, we're putting aside the whole J. Edgar Hoover thing to begin with, but we're finding that maybe there is some reasons to be a little bit distrustful, and it really comes down to the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, because it's used for so many things, and you've discovered that things are not always as they seem in the FBI for that. So give us some details here.
Well, I worked in the Department of Justice up until January 2021. And I mean, I've used FBI data for, I don't know, since the 1980s, and maybe even a little bit before that. But I have to say, I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm very skeptical that the FBI provides unbiased data on things, that it's essentially politics has corrupted a lot of their data, everything from their hate crime data to their active shooting reports, um, and uh, and their issues now about what percent of the country is even accurately reporting the Uniform Crime Report data. And this is something everybody from the media to academics to court decisions and other things rely on this data. So it's very troubling what the implications of this are. And I can't say this is true for the whole FBI because I didn't deal with the whole FBI, but I dealt when I served as senior advisor for research and statistics in both the Office of Justice Programs and the Office of Legal Policy at the Department of Justice. Part of my job was to oversee and look at the types of reports that the FBI puts out, and there are real issues of political bias. When you would point out errors to them in the data, they would refuse to fix it. They would fight you tooth and nail, even to go and get data to be able to look at different types of issues. If somehow the data that you were looking for was something that didn't fit kind of their political agenda.
That's really frustrating because again, the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, it is used for not only for a policy making tool, but also it's used by many members of the press and other things to show all these statistics and everything else. And so if you have flawed data creates flawed premises and everything else, it creates a real problem for those of us in the gun community who are trying to show just cause in why we believe the things that we believe. And if they're not willing to actually fix problems in data, then it shows just how far the politicization of this organization has come.
Right. No, I think that's exactly right. And I worked in the federal government during the 1980s, and I worked again more recently. And there's been a sea change. When I worked in the 1980s, if you found that there was a problem with the data and you let people know about it, they would fix it if they agreed with you that there was a problem with the data. But now it's a very different attitude that people have, and it's I think it's very troubling.
The couple of
I mean, I can give you an example.
Yeah, no, I was just
I
going
can
to
give you
say
examples.
a couple of examples would be good. I know that you've talked about
Sure.
active shooter incidents, and I know you've talked about defensive gun uses as well. Go ahead, give us some examples of what you're talking about here.
Well, one of the tasks that I wanted to work on when I went to Washington this last time was to go and look at the errors in the NICS background check system. You know, you'll frequently hear the claim that there are 4 million dangerous, prohibited people that have been stopped from buying guns because of background checks. And that's simply wrong. What they should say is that there have been 4 million initial denials, and about 99% of those are mistakes. Virtually all of those are what we call false positives. It's one thing to stop a felon from buying a gun. It's another thing to stop somebody simply because they have roughly phonetically similar names and similar birthdays. You know, you look at different presidents. When you have a Democratic president, Republicans attack them for not enforcing the gun control laws. When you have a Republican president, the Democrats attack them. And the number one exhibit as evidence that they're not enforcing the gun control laws is that you have hundreds of thousands of these denials each year, and you see maybe 20 prosecutions. You know,
Right,
and
right.
and the other party will say, "Well, you know, you're not enforcing the law." And you know, if you talk to the people actually involved in enforcing the law, they'll say, "Well, we'd be happy to enforce these. These are easy cases if they're real." But the problem is that these are not real cases. You know, you got somebody simply because they have a roughly phonetically similar name and similar birthday to somebody that you really do want to stop. And that's not the same thing. And so, uh, what I wanted to do was to get data on kind of who exactly are the people who are most discriminated against with these mistakes. And from everything I understood, it was basically minorities. People tend to have names similar to others in their racial group. Hispanics have names similar to their other Hispanics. Blacks tend to have names similar to other blacks. I would have, I assume that kind of American natives have names similar to other American natives. And so, you have about 33% of black males in the United States are felons. About 18% of Hispanic males are felons. About 6% of white males are felons, and about 3% of Asian males are felons. And so, you're much more likely to get these mistakes among Hispanics and blacks than you are, let's say, among whites and Asians. And so I wanted to get the data on what the rate of mistakes were. When I went to Washington, I talked to the people at the Bureau of Justice Statistics, and they were very interested in looking into this, and they contacted the FBI to go and get the data, because the Bureau of Justice Statistics are the people who analyze the data, and the FBI are the people who essentially collect it. And the FBI said no, they weren't interested in looking at it. And the Bureau of Justice Statistics people said, well, it's not your decision what we should be looking at.
Right.
Okay.
That's really not your call.
It's your
Yeah.
Right. It's your decision to provide us with the data for the analysis that we do. And anyway, the FBI got back and said, well, we can't see any reason why anybody would want to break down this data by race and sex, so we're not going to give it to you. my response was, you guys break down everything by race and sex. I mean, what's the deal here with this? And so we argued back and forth for a while, and then they just kind of disappeared. You have to understand this was during COVID. And, like, so on my floor, there were probably about 300 desks on the floor in my office. And on most days, I was the only person that showed up for work on my floor, or the floor above, or the floor below. And so it's not like you could go over to somebody's office and bang on their door and get them to respond. You would send them emails and text messages, or leave voice messages. And, and if they didn't respond, they didn't respond. And so anyway, they went radio silent for a while. And finally, a couple days after the election, they got back to us after a long, radio silence there. And they said, okay, you're going to have to fill out a FOIA request in order to get this data. And that even if you can fill it out today, there's no way that we're going to be able to get this done until after January 20th. And so there's no reason to even bother filling it out.
Wow.
I mean, this is just crazy. I mean, first of all, this is, just so your listeners know, FOIA requests are things that
it's the public.
If you're a reporter.
Yeah, it's the public. It's a private citizen trying to get information, not governmental agency to governmental agency, right?
Well, this is like one part. This is one part of the Department of Justice getting data from the other part of the Department of Justice. So they're within the same agency, and it's their job to get the data from the other. And so, it was just crazy. And to make it worse, saying that, well, we're not going to be able to get this done. This is data that should take like 10 minutes to put together.
Right.
Not, months. And so anyway, the Bureau of Justice Statistics people argue with the FBI again. And the FBI basically argues for a while and then goes radio silent again. And then the Thursday before Thanksgiving, I get a call from a guy named Grover Norquist. Grover is kind of a big conservative muckety-muck in D.C. My guess is you probably have had him on your program once or twice in the past. And he's well connected politically. Anyway, Mark Meadows, who's was the chief of staff for the White House at the time, and somebody that I know a little bit, had asked Grover what things the White House could still accomplish before the end of the Trump administration. And so anyway, Grover calls me up, because Grover and I wrote a book together about a decade or so ago, and we know each other well. And he knew I was at the Department of Justice. So I give him two ideas. One of them is the one we're just talking about right now. The other is something to do with the active shooting. And so anyway, Grover talks to Mark. Mark tells him that he likes the two ideas, and that he will call up Bill Barr on Monday and basically convey that the White House wants the Department of Justice to accomplish three things before the end of the administration. Two of them are mine. And so anyway, my understanding is that Mark contacted Bill, and that Bill then basically informed the FBI people that morning to go and stop goofing around and to work on this stuff. Well, by 3:00 that afternoon, Politico, which is kind of the inside the Beltway kind of political thing, some former Washington Post reporters put this together, comes out with the story at the top of their website saying, controversial pro-gun researcher joins Department of Justice. So what happened is that rather than just kind of working with me on this stuff, these guys at the Department of Justice, at the FBI, basically went to reporters to complain about having to work with me. And
Not the fact that they'd been stonewalling you for months, but the fact that
Right.
now they're going to announce. It's not like you hadn't been around for a while. It was like this is all a big secret. Dr. John Lott is our guest. Hold the line here, Dr. Lott, for just a second. We're going to continue here in just a moment. We're talking about the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, the statistics, the Department of Justice, his time there. We're going to continue this discussion in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Michael Dukes Show.
Oh, it's a magical Christmas time again. Your kids are counting on you.
Yeah, Dad.
Now, if only someone would do something for you.
Honey, headache. Oh. Streaming live every weekday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
All right, we're in the break right now. Dr. John Lott is our guest, and we've been talking. I mean, again, John, I kind of highlighted before the idea that the FBI were the golden boys, right? They were the Boy Scouts. They were the ones that were, no matter what else was going on, they were the ones that were looking out for America, and they were the people that you could trust. I mean, again, putting aside the whole J. Edgar Hoover thing and the secret files and all that kind of stuff, they had a pretty shiny reputation. But as we go on further and further, it's getting to be very obvious that there is a lot of activity in the FBI that is not above board, that there's it's not just even political, it's punitive, it's bureaucratic morass, this kind of thing where you said where they sneak your name. You'd been working for the administration for a while. All of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, this guy's here. Point him out. He's a radical gun guy. That's just insane.
Right. Well, unfortunately, you have people who are very, strong-willed Democrats who have very strong views on the world. And, you've often had civil service be heavily Democrat, but, at least even if you disagreed politically with people, the notion that you want to get the data right was something that people would agree with, and then you would go and debate things from there. But I think at some point along the line, people realized that it was a lot easier to control the political debate if you could control what type of data is there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we'll get back into this when we come back. But again, I don't think most people understand the inner workings of, how much the uniform crime reports and those data points, how much they're used, not just by, the media and anti-gunners and everything else, but for policy's sake. I mean, they use it for policy justifications. And so if the data is incorrect, it's like a scientist starting off on a false premise and, running completely amok. If the foundational data is incorrect, then the whole premise becomes skewed and becomes tainted. And apparently that's working by design.
Unfortunately, that's kind of the case these days.
Yeah. It's very,
when I,
go ahead.
I had people ask me, how is it possible that you could have the FBI go and spy on a presidential campaign, or even when you had Trump in there, have the FBI go and bias social media against Trump? How can you have this without kind of leaks occurring, without whistleblowers coming forward? And the explanation is pretty simple. If you have everybody who agrees with everybody else who are involved in a particular process, then it's not too surprising that you don't have leaks.
Well, that just shows how inculcated the FBI higher ups and the high level bureaucrats and the lifetimers that are in there. It just shows you how in the bag they are for a specific set of philosophies or beliefs, instead of being, as they're supposed to be, non-biased, upholders of the law, constitutional, doing the right thing. I mean, this idea that you have to get one area of your department to get a FOIA to get information from the other area of your department, I mean, that's insane. That should have been a national news story right there on that part alone. We're just trying to get some numbers here.
Right. Well, I guess they viewed getting those numbers as threatening in some way, but
well, probably because it would have exposed. Probably because it would have exposed some of the bias and exposed some of the behaviors of what was going on. I would assume. I mean, wouldn't that be a logical assumption at that point?
Well, I mean, I think it would go against kind of the gun control narrative that's out there, and a lot of people have a lot invested in it. If you go and you say, saying 4 million dangerous prohibited people is a lot more impressive over a couple decades than to go, or 3 decades is a lot more impressive than to go and say that, we have, tens of thousands of people that have been stopped.
Right.
Over many decades.
Right. Well,
and so
it inflates the numbers. Yeah, I can see that.
Right. And to go and say you have millions of law-abiding citizens who have been stopped from buying guns through no fault of their own, simply because they have a roughly phonetically similar name and similar birthday to somebody that you really want to stop.
Right. Exactly. All right. Well, hold the line here, Doctor. We're going to jump back into this. We're 15 seconds out. Dr. John Lott, president of the Crime Prevention Research Center, is our guest. We're going to continue this discussion right now. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
We're back. Dr. John Lott, our guest, president of the CPRC, the Crime Prevention Research Center. We're talking about his time at the Department of Justice and the fallacious data that seems to be very prolific in the UCR, the Uniform Crime Report, which is important. I don't think many people really understand how deeply that affects many things. The Uniform Crime Report, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's not just spouted by anti-gun zealots seeking to undermine the idea that armed citizens can make a difference. It's also used for policy and justification for other things. And if the data is wrong, it's a real problem. Dr. Lott, you just talked about the statistics of denials in the NICS system, but you also took a look at the active shooter reports and said,
Right.
talking about how the armed citizens stopped only 14 of 302 active shooter incidents, but you said that rate is 5, 6, 8 times less than what it should actually be.
All right. So what happens with the active shooting reports, the FBI has basically hired a group at Texas State University to go through and look at news reports to find cases. Police departments around the country don't collect this, and so they rely on news reports to put this together. So you have to understand an active shooting case is an instance where guns fired in public to try to hurt somebody. Anything from one person being shot at and missed all the way up to a mass public shooting. They look at cases in public that don't involve another type of crime, like a robbery or a gang fight over drug turf. And, as you say, the FBI would claim from over the 9 years from 2014 through 2022 that about 4.6% of these active shooting cases involved a civilian who's legally carrying a gun, stopping the attack. When I was at the Department of Justice, I was asked to look at that. And, I could see pretty quickly, without a huge amount of effort, that they were missing cases that were there where civilians had stopped these attacks. And I had pointed that out to them. They never fixed any of the ones that were there. Um, and and if I've continued working on it after I left the Department of Justice, and what you find is that uh, it's just case after case. They rather than four, if you include the 14, rather if you include the cases that they also misclassified. They had some cases that they classified as security guards when in fact it was just a civilian. You have like the White Settlement Church near Fort Worth in December 2019, which they said was a security guard. I actually talked to the man there who stopped the attack, and he said, "Look, the ministers basically said, look, anybody who has a concealed carry permit can carry on church property. We'll just call you an honorary security guard. Nobody got paid. They didn't even have to tell people whether or not they were carrying or not. They just showed up, and they were appreciated that they were carrying. And it's fortunate that they had people that were carrying one day when there was an attack on the church there. And it's just crazy stuff there that they won't fix these things when you point them out to them. So rather than 4.6%, I think it's about 36%. If you actually just look at the data for 2022, which I think is most accurate, you find over 40% of the active shooting cases were stopped by civilians. And one argument I had with the FBI when I was at the Department of Justice was, look, you have to separate out gun-free zones. You're talking about law-abiding citizens stopping these attacks. And if it's illegal for them to go and carry a gun in a particular place, you can't expect them to go and you can't expect them to go and carry in places where it's illegal for them to carry. And if you do that, if you separate out the gun-free zones from the other places, what you find is that over 60% of these active shooting cases were actually stopped by law-abiding citizens who were carrying guns. So anyway,
it's astonishing. I mean, just the raw numbers, even before you separate out gun-free zones, 4.6% to almost 40%. That's insane. I mean, that they would underplay it that much. It shows you that there is a tremendous amount of bias in that, and it's shocking. You should write a book about your time in the White House and or in the administration and the DOJ and expose some of this stuff, because this is, I mean, that's nutty. I mean, that they would do that.
I've written op-eds on it, and I've gone and I talk on national and other radio shows such as yours about it and TV. But I've written a number of op-eds on it that's out there. I guess I can write a book too, but it's just, you try to point out this type of stuff, and because I think it creates real concerns for people about.
Absolutely. Well, it asks the question of who's watching the watchers, right? I mean, if they're supposed to be the ones that are the last line of defense for your civil and constitutional rights, and they are bending the data to the point of nearly breaking, and then refusing to participate, refusing to help, refusing to change when they're wrong, when they're called out on it, that raises a lot of questions to me that are just terrifying at that point. I wanted to get into your discussion about the concealed carry license decline, but we don't have enough time today. So I'll give you a chance here, the last 3 minutes or so of your final thoughts. We probably won't see you before the end of the year. So anything else you want to share with us here, Dr. Lott, I give you the floor. Dr. John Lott, our guest here on the program this morning.
Well, I mean, I can talk very, very quickly about the permits. I've been collecting data on the number of concealed carry permits across the country since 1998. And this year is the first year that you've actually seen a slight decline in the number of concealed handgun permits nationwide. It's been increasing every other year. And there seems to be a very simple reason for it. We now have 27 constitutional carry states, including Alaska. And you see an increase in the permits in the 23 states where you have to have a permit to be able to carry. But you see a slight decline, slightly larger drop in the 27 constitutional carry states. So more people are carrying. It's just that not everybody needs to have a permit to be able to go and carry.
Right.
And for a number of years, you actually continue to see increases in the constitutional carry states. But now that you have over half the states are constitutional carry, before you might have a permit because even if your state was a constitutional carry, the states that were adjacent to you or nearby may not have been constitutional carry. And so you need to have a permit to be able to go and carry in those places. But now that almost, a huge percentage, about 60% or so of the country by land mass, and about 44% of the population is covered by constitutional carry, it's no longer necessarily to go and get a permit to carry.
Well, I'm a prime example of that. I had a carry permit when Alaska had the permit system to begin with, but the minute that they instituted constitutional carry, I allowed my permit to lapse, and I haven't had a permit since. And so I'm a prime example of that. So it's not really bad news in the form of, concealed carry permits are dropping. It's the fact that all these states have allowed you to do it without begging the government's permission to go forth and do it at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
But people can find more on that. There's like about 12 other points in our study, but people can find our study and they can find all the other things that you and I have talked about on our website at crimeresearch.org, crimeresearch.org.
I'm going to post it all up. I posted a link to that article specifically in the chat room, and I'll post up a copy of the article from America's First Freedom as well. Dr. John Lott is our guest. We appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you, sir. Thank you for coming on board. We appreciate you being part of the show as always.
Well, thank you for being there. I greatly appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
All right, if you'd hold for just 1 second, John, we'll be right to you here during the break. Folks, we got more coming up. Hour 2 dead ahead. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Donna Ardwin in the chat room is with us today. I don't know if you've ever met Donna, John, but she's a financial expert that's worked with Schwarzenegger and Bush and many other states trying to bring them back on track. She's a friend of the show here, and she asked a question earlier on and says, great guest, did you see Christopher Wray testifying before the Senate bone chilling? Are you familiar with Wray's testimony recently?
Well, yeah, he was just kind of called out for kind of going after the Catholics and others there. Yeah, I've seen clips of it.
This is kind of what we're talking about. These agendas, because Wray is with the FBI, for folks who don't know.
Yeah. He's the director, the FBI director.
Yeah, and so he's, this is kind of indicative of the whole thing that we've been talking about. Again, I keep going back to their image that they've had for years of, they're the Boy Scouts of the law enforcement world. But the more we hear about it, the more we hear about the insider stuff, the more we see about kind of the prosecution of people for January 6th stuff and all these other kind of things, we realize that image is more false than anything else. And your stories about working within the system, trying to find just data and being stonewalled is just another example of why we should be very leery of kind of anything coming out of that at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, it's
as I say, my direct contact was with the data people, but obviously, as the questioning of Wray indicates, that there are other areas of the FBI that people have real concerns about. So
I agree. Final question, Dr. Lott. This is very frivolous, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you have a favorite holiday recipe that you and your family always cook for the holidays? Is there something that you always look forward to?
I'm the wrong person to ask about cooking. I'm the wrong person to ask about cooking.
You're like, if it comes in tinfoil and can be heated up in the stove, it's good. Is that the kind of person?
Well, you want to ask me about data or regressions or something like that, I'm the guy. But if you want to ask me about recipes, that's way above my pay grade.
Well, but you do have to eat. I know that you're a human being, so you do have to eat.
I eat, I consume it, but it's to ask me, about my knowledge in this area extends to things like, I like leftover turkey. And stuff in there.
Well, that's, I guess, who doesn't like leftover turkey at that point, right? I just wanted to know if there was like a favorite meal that you had for Christmas or something that you had for Christmas. We're having a big recipe contest right now, so we're trying.
Yeah, well, I just know it's turkey and it's stuffing, and I eat it, and that's good.
And I eat it, and it's good, full belly, tryptophan coma. When you're done, that's what everybody's looking for when they're eating the turkey, is a little bit of that tryptophan.
Right.
Well, Dr. Lott, Merry Christmas to you, my friend. I appreciate all you do, all the hard work that you put in there, and the fact that you are willing to come on to this little podunk radio show is a blessing to me. So I appreciate you, sir, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a happy holidays.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, Michael.
All right.
Thanks very much.
We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Dr. John Lott, our guest here on the Michael Duke Show. We appreciate him coming on and being part of the program today. Well, I mean, that raises a lot of questions for me anyway. I mean, I look at that and I just go, why? They're supposed to be, the boys in blue are supposed to be the good guys, right? I mean, they're supposed to be the ones that you can trust, and and they've worked on that image. I mean, especially after the debacle that was J. Edgar Hoover, and some of his political machinations that he had going on. That was a little bit of a tarnishment to the agency's image over the years. But after that kind of quieted down, they really were supposed to be the shining star of in the firmament of governmental, enforcement. And the more I hear about this over the last 10, 15 years, the more I'm becoming convinced that is almost like it's become almost like a nest of vipers. And I'm sure that there's some frontline people that are dedicated, and they've sworn to uphold the Constitution. But at this point, again, it goes back to the leadership becoming so political and so agenda driven that it really makes me start to question the veracity of that reputation. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated by that and that story. I mean, when you've got one department in the FBI or the Department of Justice asking another department for some numbers and statistics, and they stonewall and then say you have to file a FOIA to get the information, who's in charge of that madhouse? Who's in charge of the madhouse? Yeah, remember the innocent people from the Kenai? You mean the Hoopers down in Homer who had their front door busted open by the FBI and showing up and that kind of stuff? It's just not a good look for what's supposed to be the preeminent law enforcement agency in the country. I mean, Brian's right with his comment of the state is not your friend. But he doesn't mean the state of Alaska. He means the state government. They're just not your friend. And we keep wanting to believe in our heart of hearts that they are. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Times armed. Be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
It's my rifle, this is my gun. This is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Duke Show. Good morning and welcome to the program. We are happy that you are here to join us today for this beautiful. I mean, it's warm. It's like 24 degrees. We got 3 inches of snow, 4 inches of snow, maybe overnight, and definitely looking more and more like it's going to be a white Christmas around here. After the 7 feet of snow that we got in November, I think it's safe to say it's going to be a white Christmas around here for ready. And I'm ready for it. I am all about that Christmas time. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. So thanks for coming in. We just finished up with Dr. John Lott, who is the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. If you didn't get a chance to see him or hear him, you can go back and listen on the podcast, which is available on Spotify, wherever you find great podcasts, Castbox, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, wherever. But Spotify is the easy one. Or you could just go back to Facebook and watch the replay on Facebook as well. Lots of good conversation and discussion with him. The takeaway for me on that whole thing from Dr. Lott is that it's showing us that the more government grows, the more dysfunction that continues to appear in it. I mean, this is the tyranny of bureaucracy, right? More and more people have become parts of the system. They get involved there, they get invested, and then they slowly start utilizing it for their own political ends or to furthering their own political philosophies. And that's, especially in an organization like the FBI, they're supposed to be beyond that, right? And it is it's frustrating to watch this kind of stuff because, like I said, I mean that the FBI has always been held up as the one institution that you could trust, right? I mean that they were the boys in blue, they were the Boy Scouts, they were there to help you, they were there to protect America and do all these things. And when we start to hear about some of these actions, and I'm not talking about specifically like the guys in the field, I think that there's probably still a lot of great Constitution-loving Americans in the field. But when you start hearing about the actions of the bureaucrats behind the scenes and in the back rooms and in the big office buildings and the leadership and the political appointees, and we're hearing more and more about their actions and what they're doing, the fact that they won't right wrongs, that they won't correct misinformation, that they'll, which means that they are literally intentionally putting out false information, is disheartening more than anything else. I mean, again, it's not like I've had a great love or trust of government for my entire life, but I used to at least think a little bit, well, there's at least one good organization in there. And now, it's tough. I've met and known some FBI agents over the years. I've had great conversations with them. Many of them, again, are patriots, but if they're bosses, if those in the higher up echelons of the organization have got an agenda, how frustrating must it be for some of the rank and file people, down there as well. Bill says, does this actually surprise you? Really? Well, I guess maybe it's nostalgia on my part. Maybe it's a little bit of intentional naivete that I wanted to believe in at least one thing. And this is not an instantaneous. It's like, I'm not surprised like right now, because I've been watching this over the last 10 years. I've been watching, 10, 15 years. I've been watching this slow change in the organization. I guess I'm hearkening back to when I was younger and wanted to believe at least that there was one good, agency that would still look out for us. But I've been disabused of that over the last 10 years. I mean, I'm not shocked by Dr. Lott's comments and his story now, although the blatancy of it really kind of blows my mind. The blatancy that one department of the FBI, one part of the Department of Justice asks another part of the Department of Justice for some numbers for some reporting, and they stonewall them and then demand that they have a FOIA. They're not going to give them the information. I mean, that's not just petty infighting. That's protectionism for an agenda, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, Waco, Ruby Ridge, there's there's all kinds of things. The standoff in Oregon. Like I said, I've been disabused of that over the last 10 or 15 years more than anything else. And the more I read, the more frustrated I get about it, because again, that's supposed to be one of our last, as civilians, as citizens, that's supposed to be one of our last bastions of goodness and everything that's American. So it's frustrating. And you're right, Jim. Once they kicked out Mulder and Scully, the FBI has really gone downhill. Some of you will get that, and some of you will not. Oh, man. All right. Well, hey, welcome to the program. It is Firearms Friday, and I guess we should open up the phone lines and start to talk to take some calls from you guys to see what you guys have to say on this beautiful, blessed Friday. Getting ready to do things. Chris Chang, who normally joins us on the second Friday of the month, I announced it last hour, but he reached out to me last night and said he is very much under the weather, and asked if he could push off until January, which I'm very happy to do that. I wish him and his family a very Merry Christmas. Kind of a tough situation when you're not feeling good to be able to get up early and have to do this. So he's not going to be joining us today. So it's just you and me until we hit up with Willie Waffle here at the end of the show this morning. Which reminds me, I also want to remind you, of course, the holiday recipe contest is going on right now. The holiday recipe contest is in full swing, and I've added more prizes. So now there's going to be two winners. One prize package is the beard curler coffee and the coffee mug, which, it's a $40, whatever it is, value. But the second prize is a pair of gift certificates to Point Blank Firearms in Palmer, where I have a pair of certificates for a basic pistol class. So you and a friend can go take a basic pistol class together. That's a $250 value. So whoever wins gets their choice of prize packages, and whoever is second runner-up is going to get whatever the other person doesn't take. But I mean, now there's some stuff on the line there. So go out there and post your recipe contest up on the page, and go off with you. Be free. Enjoy it. It's going to be fun stuff. All right, let's go over to the phones, since I've just turned the phones. I connected to the phones. They were already on, apparently, because I got two callers in the chat room already. So let's go over there and see what you guys have to say at 907-433-3150. Let's start over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Michael. Calling from North Pole, Fairbanks area. Had a nice warm 18 below at my place this morning. And anyway, a couple of things. One, I do cowboy action shooting, and we've got a shoot on Sunday, and we start at 1 o'clock for registration and so forth, and then actual firing starts at 2. and goes to usually about 4 or 4:30, depending on how many show up as to how long the matches go. But if anybody was interested in that, they could come out, and we shoot small bore inside the TVSA shooting range, which is, catty corner across there from where Fred Meyer West is.
Right.
And if anybody's interested in that, they could come out and have a look, see, and join us if they want. Anyway, something else I'd like to mention: the Alaska Gun Collectors is putting on that gun show next weekend at Shoppers Forum up here in Fairbanks, and it's going to run Saturday and Sunday. Saturday open to general public from 10 till 6, and then Sunday 11 till 5. And if anybody wanted to get tables, they could call this number here, 907-451-9780, and talk to John over there at the place where he works. And anyway, that's
all right.
Pretty much what I had to.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate you calling in, and
all right.
Merry Christmas to you, sir. Thank you for being part of the show today. I got 3 more lines on hold. Everybody wants to talk about something this morning. Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael. This is Ron in North Pole. How are you today?
Oh, you know what, my friend? It's just another beautiful Friday. What more could you ask? We're only a couple weeks from Christmas, and I'm ready, sir. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Your discussion with Dr. Lott this morning triggered something from the past, and also in connection with your monologue that you opened the second hour with. A number of years ago, I worked for a subcontractor to a federal agency, Translate Marshal Service, and his dealings with DOJ is what triggered this. The deputies that I worked directly for, when they referred to the headquarters of the Department of Justice, they simply called it Main Justice. And the way they spoke of it was almost as if they were, well, let's take, for example, a Muslim would discuss the Kaaba stone. And that's just kind of an observation.
That it was almost lionizing or religious in nature, or what?
It was almost like a blind obedience.
That's troubling on several levels because they've all taken an individual oath to uphold the Constitution. But if they just look back to Main Justice and to the Department of Justice as the ultimate arbiter of all things, that's a little troubling. Were you disturbed by that, Ron?
Tremendously. And so were you in a rather vicarious manner, because I patted you down on one occasion, to much of our mutual chagrin.
It's always my favorite. Always my favorite. Just a little bit more to the left, Ron. A little bit more to the left.
I recall it distinctly.
Man.
But at any rate, I just thought I'd throw that in to give a little overview for the 30,000 feet overview of the Department of Justice and how it works or doesn't.
All right. Well, thank you, Ron. I appreciate the insight on that.
Right.
Appreciate you calling in. Merry Christmas to you, my friend.
All
right, folks. We are coming up on it. I do still have 2 more lines. Callers, just hold the line for a second. I'll be right back to you. The Michael Duke Show continues. It is Firearms Friday. Willie Waffle will be joining us up at the end of the next segment. And we'll be doing some weekend movie stuff on Monday. Dr. Greg Hammer is going to come in hour 1 to talk with us about how to beat the winter blues. And in hour 2, Cindy Bertram is going to tell us about the joys and benefits of taking a cruising vacation. Why cruises are the best. We're going to find out more about that. It's going to be fun. That's on Monday. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense, Liberty Bay's Free Thinking Radio. Back with more and your phone calls right after this.
consume, spend, obey.
Happy holidays. It's the Michael Dukes Show.
Okay, in the break right now, we got 2 lines on hold. Let's go over to them real quick, and we will get their names, their phone numbers, their social security, their Visa PIN numbers. We'll get it all right here. We'll see if we can figure out who's on the phone. We'll start over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's Fred. Rhode Island. How you been?
Hello, my friend. You hold the line. You are number 1 with a bullet here on the program. Fred's going to be number 1 in the queue. Let's go over here to the second caller. Good morning, caller. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Webb in Anchor Point.
Hello, Webb. If you'll hold the line for a minute, we will be right back to you. You'll be number 2 in the queue, and we'll be taking your call here as soon as we come back from the commercial break. All right, so there we go. Let's go over. I'm going back here to say what's going on in the chat room to see what's going on. Harold says my thinking is weak. The FBI is solid. The FBI is solid. And somehow it's because Trump doesn't like the FBI that I don't like the FBI. I don't know why he keeps bringing up Trump. Like, anybody who's listened to this program for 5 minutes know that I am not a fan of Trump at all. But, just keep flapping those lips, my friend. Just keep flapping those lips. I should JIH, I should just, that's what I should do. But Jim's comment, by the way, still wins the internet for today. Once they kicked out Mulder and Scully, the FBI has really gone downhill. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Let's see. Brian wanted to know, I think when I was talking about the contest and I'm like, I've upped the prizes, and he's like, a date with Jamie Lee? No, that's not what's going to be. Let's see. Can't wait until Friday, says David. It is Friday, David. Next Friday, you mean? Or this? I mean, it's Friday right now. You don't have to wait, David. I hate to tell you, it's Friday. It's great. Let's see. Jeannie. It's not whether the DOJ works; it's who they work for. Is a good thing. Oh man. All right. I've caught up on all the comments here this morning. I also posted up the 2 stories that we talked with Dr. Lott about this morning. So just in case, let me not do that. Just in case you were the first freedom one, this is the one about the FBI statistics and how they've been wronged and how he couldn't get the information. And the second one is here's the second one. This is the ones on his concealed carry research and why permits are dropping around did those show up on Facebook? If you're on Facebook right now, just tell me, did those links that I just dropped in there show up? If not, because they're saying that they didn't get posted. Let me know if they showed up in the chat if you're watching on Facebook this morning, because I just reposted both of those. They did. Okay. See, my side says that they only went out to YouTube and Twitch. So there you go. All right. I'll quit double posting everything. The first one did. The second one didn't. Oh, I see them both, says Chris. Okay. All right. Anyway, great stories. Both of them. They're good stuff. You should go check it out. It's amazing. I'm glad it's Friday. I'm ready for the weekend. I'm having a real hard time right now. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I am only, 8 working days away from being on vacation. And I'm just, I'm ready. I'm just ready right now. Just want to go on vacation. I need a mental break, my friends. I need a mental break. I should do ASMR. Hello. Here's your, I hope you're sleeping. I mean, this is my wife said, she says, you should do ASMR. Go to sleep, or I will put you to sleep. That's me just talking the whole time. That would be creepy as hell. All right, we're going to jump into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
What the hell's an assault weapon?
You know, if we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right, we're back. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. We are jumping back into, looks like we lost Fred for a minute, so we'll come back to him if he calls back in. Meanwhile, Webb is down in Anchor Point. He wanted to join us on the phone this morning for some discussion, so let's see what he has to say. Good morning, Webb. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning. Good morning, Michael. Hey, I have a pretty basic question. Yeah, we live in a state where we don't need a concealed weapon permit, but I'd like you to discuss maybe the pros and cons of getting a concealed weapons permit. I'm deciding that maybe I should get one, and I'd like your views on that.
Well, there are some pros to it. What my friend Joe Nava used to say. Joe Nava was a firearms instructor in Fairbanks for many, many, many years. One of the cornerstones of the firearms community in Fairbanks. He was an instructor and an instructor's instructor. I got my firearms instructor's certification from him. But what he used to say was that first and foremost, the concealed carry permit tells any law enforcement that you happen to interact with that you're one of the good guys, right? It's a good guy card, which I mean, I believe in some respects. I think, yeah, it's good. It does do that. Although for me personally, it's never been a thing that I cared about that much. I don't really care whether they think I'm a good guy or not. I know my rights and I'm going to do the best that I can. But that is at least one thing. It at least notifies them that you've gone through the system and you've done the checks and all that other kind of stuff. So it is a positive. Whether you want that or not, it is a positive. The second thing that you get out of it is that it gives you a pass on the NICS background check because you have an active. If you have an active concealed carry permit, you can get a pass on the NICS check. You still have to fill out the paperwork, but because of that, for a few years there, it wasn't being done. They weren't allowing it, but my understanding is about 4 or 5 years ago, they reinstated it where you don't have to wait for the NICS background check. You just fill out the paperwork, show your license, and you can walk out. You don't have to wait for them to call or do anything else. So that's the second thing. The third thing that you get is that there is the reciprocity with other states. Now, your mileage may vary. You've got to figure out which states will accept an Alaska concealed carry license versus which state won't. But there's something like 36 states or something at the last time it's been a while since I checked, but there were over 30 states that would accept an Alaska concealed carry permit. So if you had to go down and do traveling or you were going to visit family or something, you were in those states and you wanted to bring your handgun to protect yourself. If that state allowed reciprocity with an Alaska permit, then you could carry the permit, carry your firearm along with your permit, and that would be okay. But again, since now we have something like 27 states with constitutional carry, that has made that probably less of an issue than it was in the past. So those are kind of the three big reasons why. And I would say fourth, and this is kind of more an amorphous thing, but to get your concealed carry permit, you have to go through the concealed carry permit course, which includes a lot of basic information, it gives you a lot of the legal advice and the legal background to understand when you can deploy use of force and all those things. I mean, I recommend people go through that course, even if they don't apply for their license, simply because it gives them a grounding in the practice of carrying your firearm. I think that's an actual plus as well, but it's a little more amorphous than the other three. So, Webb, I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Well, I believe it did. I thank you very much for your input.
All right. Well, thank you for your call today, my friend. Merry Christmas to you, and thanks for listening to the program. We'll head over here to the next caller and see who it is. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Michael. It's Fred. Yeah, I guess we got dropped again. Dropped again on the online portion of this.
Oh, there you go. What's on your mind, sir?
This whole. Yeah. Anyway, the whole thing. This whole thing with the FBI and it's not just the FBI, but there's a lot of government agencies and programs that have been infiltrated by the wokes and the progressives, which is backdoor Bolshevikism. Policy of theirs, with one of the anti-gun crowd, the power and money behind it, which is it's a lot of BS, but that's a game they're playing these days, as Biden is allowing to happen. But the whole thing, it's all nonsense. It's all political. It's all one-sided. Especially the FBI, withholding the data that they're looking for to do the proper research, not the BS research that a lot of these college professors sit there and just one Saturday night they'll sit around with a case of beer and dream up the answers to the questions without doing any research, which has been proven time and time again by a number of people. They sit there and they come up with these things, and they just let them spew out anything they want to say about it and take it as gospel. Well, anybody that does that is going to be some kind of an idiot to begin with. However, this is what they're pushing along. Take it at face value and believe it as the written word, which is it's all nonsense.
Right.
It's all crap.
Well, it's frustrating to see your own government agencies, your own tax dollars, the organization that's supposed to be there protecting and upholding your rights. It's frustrating to see them working on their own personal or political agendas, to see them working against the common interest and common good of people in many ways. It's frustrating, and in some instances, it's terrifying, because here is an organization or an organism that has unlimited resources that if it decides to put you in their crosshairs, you're in some real trouble, because you as an individual probably don't have unlimited resources. I've often said there's few things that really scare me in life, but one thing that scares me is a federal agency that wants to come down and ruin you, because, how do you stand against that? It's a very, very frustrating thing to watch, for sure. I agree.
But I think the best way to fight this, stand up against it, is to just say we will not accept any of this. We will put our foot down politically. Come election time, we just have to sit there and just realize, take into account all common sense on all subjects, and especially what they're doing now. Like Schumer's up there, he's coming up with this crazy bill about gas-operated guns, and they got the Catholic nuns now sitting there trying to go after Smith & Wesson for the AR-15 manufacturing.
Oh, I saw that.
It's all being politicized. It's all being money thrown around, influence being pushed in places where it normally would not be pushed into, and it's just manipulation. It's just being manipulated to the flock of sheep. And if you sit there and want to be considered one of the flock, one of the sheep on the flock, well, it's on you. You sit there and you take everything you got, might as well just flush it down the toilet, because that's just going to wind up eventually. Well, but if you want to stand up to it, you sit there and say, no, we're not accepting it. We see the game. We see what you're up to. You're sitting there, and especially now they're sitting there and they're using the Newtown reenactment, revisiting reenactment for pushing gun control, the ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, which is nothing. I mean, nobody has mentioned anything about going to the source, which is, criminals, mental health, drugs, and gangs. You sit there and everything you can do as far as what they call gun violence falls into that category. And it isn't just gun violence, this is violence, period. But they want to push their political agenda.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think you're talking about basically civil disobedience, which I think is one of the most American of attributes. And maybe one day that will be what we have to do. We just have to kind of stand up and say what you're doing is not right. It's not constitutional. But I think we can't do it individually. We've got to do it more as a because individuals will get picked off. I think you have to do it more as a group as you go through. Fred, Merry Christmas to you, my friend. It's good to talk with you. I guess we'll see you next week. Thank you for calling in and joining us. I see here in the chat room that Jeannie makes a couple of comments about if you do have a concealed, one of the downsides to the concealed carry permit is that would be the first people in line to have law enforcement knock at your door to collect your firearms. It also could give them a reason to search you or search your vehicle, although there's some challenges to that. That'd be an interesting discussion for the whole thing. We should talk about that interaction with law enforcement here next Friday. But we got to go. We're up against the break. Willie's going to call us here in just a second. The Michael Dukes Show, Common Sense Radio.
Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Donna says, true. My husband was pulled over for speeding, and his concealed carry card got him a full body and vehicle search. Well, just because you have a concealed carry card does not give them permission, does not give them probable cause to search your vehicle. Different states have different laws about interactions with law enforcement if you have a concealed carry card. In Alaska, you are supposed to notify law enforcement if you're having an official, what they call an official contact. If you're having an official contact with law enforcement, you're supposed to notify them that you have a concealed carry permit and that you have a concealed carry firearm on your possession, and that if they ask you to surrender to them for the duration of the stop or the interaction, you're supposed to do so. But it does not give them carte blanche to search your vehicle unless they have probable cause to believe. And at that point, remember, they will always ask you, can I search your vehicle? If they are saying, get out, I'm going to search your vehicle, that's different than, can I search your vehicle? And you just got to remember, a right that is not, enforced or not, not upheld by you is a right lost. There's a whole, there's a whole thing involved in that. And maybe we should we haven't done a show on that in a long time. That is something that we should be, something we should be talking about more and more. Interactions with law enforcement. Brian says, I would agree. That would be a good topic. Interactions with LEOs, maybe a review of Alaska law in regards to concealed carry weapons. We might do that. I think it's been a hot minute since we've done that. Ooh, hey, look at that. Isn't that fancy? I love that. I love that behind that's very Christmassy. Oh, I feel like I'm a Sith now. Oh, I'm a Sith. I'm a Sith. It's dark red, but a green and Christmassy. And it can do all kinds of stuff. What was the thing? Where was it? There was a Christmas one. I was going to do the Christmas one of these days. Christmas time is here. And oh, it's so slow. So slow you can't see it behind you. All right. Well, I'm sorry. Let me go back to where I was. I was doing orange. Okay. Because Willie's going to call in and he's got the orange background. Good way to get yanked out of your vehicle, says Sandy. Which part? Getting yanked out of your vehicle? I have had interactions with law enforcement over the years, for speeding tickets or whatever, where I've informed them. Only one time was it ever a problem. The guy demanded my firearm. Okay. I gave it to him. He then took it back to his car, was going to write me a ticket or something, comes back with my it was a para ordinance 1911. So it was a high capacity 1911. He came back with a Ziploc baggie and he showed it to me. And it was literally my pistol disassembled, like it was like pieces and parts, and he had taken every cartridge out of the magazine. And so this whole thing is like a big jingle bag of stuff. And he goes, okay, I'm going to give you this back, but I'm going to put this back. I was driving a pickup truck. I'm going to put this back here and you don't get out of your vehicle and get it until I leave. And I'm like, Jesus, what is wrong with you? I informed you that I was armed, and it was the most bizarre interaction I've ever had. It's just like one of those times where I'm like, really? I mean, you think that, I mean, I just, it's frustrating. First of all, the fact that you have to surrender your firearm after you've notified them, all I can think of is every time you're doing something like that, especially with a loaded handgun, especially if it's one that they're not familiar with, or, whatever, you're just asking for a discharge, right? An accidental discharge. If they're going to try and if they're going to try and unload it or do whatever, it's just frustrating. But to have this guy come back and be like, he literally it was a gallon Ziploc baggie full of parts. And, it's crazy. Anyway. Debbie got purple lights for her Christmas tree. Was that a mistake? Is that what you're saying? That was a mistake. I should not have gotten purple lights. Well, purple lights would look really cool on a white tree or a pink tree. My wife has a small pink tree in her entryway. She loves it. She's got like silver and blue, and it's a pink tree she's got a theme going on. I mean, that girl, she loves that stuff. And she's got this little 4-foot pink Christmas tree that sits on a table. And anyway, it's good stuff. All right. We're coming up on it. Willie Waffle, the phone's going to buzz here in just a second. So we're going to get with him, and we're going to be doing it here, and getting some weekend entertainment reviews. It's going to be fun stuff. Please like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. And let's get to it. I'm looking for the lighter side. I love that lighter side. Let's get to it. Here we go. Well, hello. It's time to finish our Friday. You know it. You know what it is. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. I do this because I love it. I mean, I just, I know some of you are like, I just want to talk more. Just give me something fun to talk about. And there's nobody more fun, in my opinion, that I know personally than Willie Waffle. You're fun, guy. You're a fun guy.
That's what I try to tell all the ladies.
He's got a license plate and a bumper sticker. He's got a little chain around his neck that in script says "Fun Guy." I'm just, he gets all the ladies. All right,
you need some fun in your life, baby.
I do. I'm married. I got plenty of fun. All right. Let's hit it. I don't know where to start. We'll save the AI story for last because that's interesting to me. So, Russian roulette, you choose. What's our poison today, my friend? What are we dicking at here? What are we dealing at?
My favorite story of the week. Are you ready for Kim Kardashian, lawyer? Yes, Kim Kardashian, that actress, model, I don't know.
Question mark?
She is attempting to spread her acting wings, my friends. And, she's kind of established this relationship with Ryan Murphy, the guy who's done, Glee and American Horror Story. Well, he's got a new show for Hulu that will feature Kim Kardashian as, and I'm sorry, this is the funny part, LA's most successful divorce attorney.
Experience breeds success.
and her character leads a law firm of all women in what will be the legal drama series of 2025.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it sounds like an American Horror Story line anyway, but it's not. It's a whole different series. But boy, it does sound that way, doesn't it?
I cannot see Kim Kardashian being the lead in any series that has any hope whatsoever. Okay, I've been exposed to her acting, and it's not that good. It's not.
No. Ugh. Well, we'll see how Ryan Murphy is either hit or miss, and I'm not really a fan of much of his work, but some people love it. But there's been a few things where he has crashed and burned hard, and I guess we'll see how this works out.
Well, and I just want to see the reaction. See, nobody else has put this together yet. I have. Kim Kardashian is going to be on a Hulu series. Hulu has just been bought by Disney Plus.
Right.
So now Kim Kardashian is a Disney princess.
Oh God. Okay. All right. I can't. No. All right. Speaking of princesses, how about America's princess, Barbie? She's hitting the streams.
That's right. Mark it down in your calendar, all you Barbie fanatics, all you pink wearing ladies, and hey, anybody who wears pink, go for it. I don't care. It is December 15th. That will be your lucky day. That is the day that Max subscribers, that's right, Max, the formerly HBO Max will be airing the Barbie movie.
Okay.
That's it. That's the story. That's all
story.
I got.
Well, I mean, there was the other thing, wasn't it, about the ASL?
There is. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot the other part. So what is very unique, and I think this kind of sets it apart. So for those who use American Sign Language, there is going to be a version of that movie on the app with a special ASL like performer who will be signing the movie as if you were at the theater or something like that. Okay, that's pretty cool.
I mean, while I appreciate the sentiment, I just got to wonder how much of a marketing gag that is, because if you have captions, why do you need ASL? I mean,
well,
I'm just asking. I mean, I'm not dissing it. I don't want anybody to think that I'm dissing anybody who's hard of hearing or has an impairment. But if you have, I mean, especially if you have what's the special closed caption that has like enhanced stuff that tells you all the sounds or stuff. Why would you need an ASL interpreter if you're getting it all in subtitles on the screen? I guess I don't understand that.
Maybe we're gonna have to look into this. What if Max doesn't provide that?
Well, that would be difficult. That would be okay.
Yeah.
I see that.
I'm okay. Yeah. Oh, now you've got my brain turning. I'm gonna have to do an investigation and come back to us next week.
Every now and then I can be taught. I can come up with something crazy. Jamie Foxx back in the limelight, I guess, back for the first time.
Yeah, first time making his first public appearance this week at the Critics' Choice Association celebration of cinema and television. And a disclaimer: I am a member of the Critics' Choice Association, and so we had the big event earlier this week, and Jamie Foxx was one of the award winners, kind of like one of those icon awards. And for the first time, he made a public appearance and walked up to the stage from his seat. And outright said, that's something I couldn't do 6 months ago.
Wow.
And was very warm and very, very touching about, he didn't really reveal anything new about his mystery ailment, but he talked about how it really made him have a new respect for life and a new respect for his art and how important it was to him and how important art is in everybody's life.
Sure.
Said, I would not wish the last 6 months on my worst enemy.
Is there any speculation as to what it is? I'm trying to think of what could, meningitis or
the big speculation was he had a stroke, and he just won't say it. That he just won't say it because it's adding up that way. Just when we hear about the ailments and the recovery time, he was seen or his family was seen outside of one of the major stroke rehabilitation treatment centers in Chicago after this happened. It's kind of been assumed that he had a stroke,
but no speech impairment or anything else, or
no, thank God.
Yeah.
And he's been able to physically recover. I mean, mostly physically recover. I mean, I don't think we'll ever truly know how bad it was or how much better he is or what kind of lasting effects he has, because he just seems to be very private outside of this revelation this week, which he's avoided. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx probably has offers from every morning television show, every news television show to come on and talk about this, and he just hasn't.
Well, good for him. I mean, we'll let him rest. I was just curious more than anything else.
Yeah.
The final story from the entertainment news is to voice actors is one that, like myself, is kind of spooky. AI is now rearing its ugly head even more.
This is a wild story. This is in many ways the actor's worst nightmare. So, ladies and gentlemen, how would you like to have a bedtime story read to you by Jimmy Stewart? Well, now you can. So there's the app, the Calm app, if you've ever heard of that.
Yep.
It's soothing sounds and stories to help you get to sleep at night and to relax at night. And they have produced a bedtime story, the It's a Wonderful Sleep story, that is read to you by an artificial intelligence generated Jimmy Stewart voice.
Right. And this with the approval of his family, right? I mean, because you got to get the estate and his family, and they signed off on this and said, "Yeah, go for it."
Oh yeah, because they're getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, oh wait, I'm going to get paid how much, and I don't have to do anything. Yeah, sounds great. Let's do it. Yeah. So they did it, and then what they did is they kind of used an actor who can do basically a Jimmy Stewart impression,
right?
To kind of lay down like a baseline, and somehow they interweave his speech and his words that he's used, and they've cloned his voice. And now Jimmy Stewart is reading you a bedtime story, and somewhere out there, Tom Cruise and George Clooney are crying because they don't want this to be done to them when they're gone for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the big fear. I mean, the idea that 50 years down the road, the what do I want to call it, the avatar of Tom Cruise, or the hologram of Tom Cruise, or the deep fake of Tom Cruise will be in Mission Impossible 25.
Right.
Exactly. Hey,
I guess as long as you or your estate get paid, it's not a big deal. But oh man, it's kind of spooky. It really is kind of spooky to see.
Oh, it is.
Stuff. Yeah.
Hey, you look at what Kiss is doing. Kiss, the band. They had their final concert, well, supposedly final concert in Madison Square Garden over the weekend, and for the encore, they presented the Kiss hologram band that will be touring around and being sent around to do shows because Gene and Paul and the other guys are just too darn old to do this anymore. And so, they're basically going to tour like that. The Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger has said, I could see us doing that.
Wow.
Basically the hologram Rolling Stones are doing a concert in Madison Square Garden in the year 2075. Yeah.
Well,
there's a part of me that also worries though is when you keep these other people alive and you keep these other talents alive, you do not give new talent a chance to flourish.
Yeah.
And is that going to end up really hurting us? We're already seeing it in sequelitis and movie hero-itis. And I think that people are just dying for new original material. And if you keep bringing back the old stuff, that just ends the new stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's pretty rank. Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the movies and stuff. And this will be good. My family will love this. Monk is back. Mr. Monk's Last Case.
Yes, the Monk movie is coming to Peacock starting today. And yes, Tony Shalhoub is back. You can't replace him. You can't bring in a hologram Monk, okay? And he has, it turns out he's been in retirement for several years, and he's tried to kind of get past all of his ailments, his obsessive compulsiveness and his germophobia. And well, let's just say COVID did not have a positive effect on all of that. And now he is back, and his stepdaughter is getting married, but alas, a crime is committed, and he must step in to solve the case in typical Monk fashion, baby. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
This is a typical Monk. Yeah. If you're a Monk fan, you're going to be so happy because this is a reunion movie in so many ways. They're bringing back all the other characters, all the other actors. They're having fun again. They're showing that same chemistry again. They're showing those same relationships again. I just think that Tony Shalhoub is perfect in this Monk character, and the way that he just expresses this self-loathing that he has for his situation. The struggles he's facing, and let's face it, the great one-liners that he typically has.
Oh, he's got some great ones. Yeah.
Fun.
I haven't watched, I mean, I've watched some TV, don't get me wrong, but there's not many things, but this Monk is something that I watched a lot of with the kids, especially because it was always so much fun. And the captain, who is the Wild Bill from Silence of the Lambs. We always joke about putting the lotion in the basket, when we see the captain and everything. But yeah, I mean, it was a great show. It was really a great show. It had a good ending on the series, but to bring it back and see where he's gone since then, I'm down with that. It sounds like fun. This is something I can get behind.
It's not much of a mystery. I mean, if you want a taut thriller or you're a mystery that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat, this is not it. But I'm at like 2.5 waffles. It's a fun movie.
That's all we need. That's all we need is just a little fun. Now, I've been looking for this other one because I've been seeing some of the trailers and trying to understand what it's about and everything else. On Netflix, it's called Leave the World Behind.
That's right. Julia Roberts gets to be mean, baby. She gets to play not the bad guy, but she gets to play the Karen. Let's just be honest. That's what she is. The story is very interesting. Her and her family have rented a vacation house out in the Hamptons on Long Island, and things start to get a little bit weird. And all of a sudden, Mahershala Ali and his daughter knock on the door, and they say, "We're the actual owners of this house, and we're sorry we've had to come back because of what's going on." And what's going on is it seems like the world is falling apart around us. And now all these people are in this house as the world is coming to an end, and they're debating, and they're having troubles, and there's strife, and nobody knows who to trust and if anybody should be trusted, and how are they going to get out of this situation? What's really happening out there in the outside world, since they've really been disconnected and they're not exactly sure.
Okay.
And that's what this movie is.
It sounds interesting. I mean, it sounds like an interesting premise. How does it get pulled off?
I think halfway. I'm not as big of a fan of the debate that's going on within the house, kind of almost like this massive character study of every character. It feels much more like a theatrical play to me. Like, hey, we're going to do this in one set, and we're going to have all this dialogue back and forth, and we're going to spur all these discussions about society and race and class and all these other things. I wanted to see more about how's the world falling apart,
right?
Because those, to me, are some of the most shocking scenes. I mean, I'm trying not to give too much away, but you see some of the things that are happening, and you start to get a sense of what's really going on, and that I think that technological apocalypse is more interesting to me than the other battles.
Okay, all right. -1 to 4 waffles. Quickly, where are we at?
I'm at 2.5 waffles.
Okay. All right. 2.5 waffles for Leave the World Behind. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Next week, his last week with us for the year. Willie, thanks so much. Folks, we got to go. Don't go anywhere until Monday. We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend. Yeah, I mean, what you just described, I'm like, okay, so tell me, how does the world end and how does that impact them and what's going on? But if this is just a monologue between a bunch of people in a living room where they spend 2 hours in the living room talking about it, I don't know how exciting that can be.
Yeah, I think that's the failure. I mean, when we get those first signs that something's wrong, they're very impactful and they're very shocking, and it reminds you of some of the great apocalyptic movies that you've seen in your lifetime. So that visual, I think, is really what should have been. I think should have been more prominent.
Well, it should be in a movie like this. That should be a character in the movie, right? I mean, essentially, you should be treating it like a character, and that character is developing while the rest of the stuff is going on. I mean, look at me. I sound like a movie guy, but I mean, that's what when you lay out the synopsis, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good, and that's what I expect. And if it's not that, I could see why it might be a little disappointing. But still, 2.5 waffles.
Yeah, I'm at 2.5. I think they gave me enough to be interested. I mean, come on, the movie's a little bit over 2 hours, so they got to keep you interested somehow.
Okay, all right. Well, you made it through. Next week, what are we getting?
Willy Wonka.
Willie, and this is the Timothy Chalamet one.
Yep.
Okay.
With Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa.
I did see some screenshots of that, and I was like, "Oh God, that's hysterical." All right, well, we'll find out more about that, and you'll have the Barbie ASL question answered by then too, right?
I will be doing my research. I will find out what's going on. I will get to the bottom of this. I will put on my best Sam Donaldson hat, and I am going to get to the nitty gritty.
There you go. All right, Willie Waffle, thank you, my friend. Folks, we're out of time. On Monday, Greg Hammer and Cindy Bertram. It's going to be fun stuff. We'll see you then.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin and we've the internet. It's the Michael Duke Show.